back off the record on the QT and very hush hush. It is the Disenfranchised Podcast, that podcast all about those franchises of one, those films that fancy themselves full-fledged franchises before falling flat on their face after the first film. I am your host, Stephen Foxworthy, and joining me, as always, just the facts, it's my co-host, Brett Wright. Hey, Brett.
Hello, Stephen.
How we doing, buddy?
I am doing okay.
It's been a couple weeks. I'm glad. It's always good to see you.
It's always good to see you as well.
It's when we can get Brett on an episode, we know it's going to be a good time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I do miss you when you're gone, buddy. I do. And you know who else misses you when you're gone? This may be the City of Angels, but he hasn't got any wings. It's Tucker. Hey, Tucker.
Hi. How's it going?
Not bad, buddy. How are you?
You know what? Today is a good moment in my life. It's good. It's been a good present. Of course, is everything burning around me? Sure, but I have had a great day.
I mean, today was going to be the day we were going to throw it back to you, so I'm glad it's been a good one for you so far.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Both impressive and disgusting.
Yep, you're welcome. That is my brand. And speaking of my brand, actually, this isn't about my brand at all. This is about Tucker's brand, because we had a 5 Thursday month last month, but we had a theme month. So we postponed Tucker's Choice to the beginning of July. And so, Tucker, what movie are we discussing today?
We are discussing
pulling out your Blu-rays like we can see those on an auditory medium.
It's not for them, it's for you, Stephen.
Oh, oops.
But not for me, only for Stephen.
Well, no, also for you, Brett, but more so Stephen, just because he's into this sort of thing, you know?
I do like physical media.
I also enjoy physical media. Thank you.
Okay, well then it's equally for you, Brett. That's my bad. I'm sorry. I misjudged.
Thank you.
I didn't read the room very well, and I apologize. It is equally for you, Brett. Maybe even more so for you now that I think about it. Don't ask me to explain that. Let's move on. This week we watched one of the best movies ever made by Evolved Man, and that film is what was it, 1998 when this bitch came out? 97, something like that.
98 or no, 97. You're right.
L.A. Confidential.
1997's L.A. L.A. stands for Los Angeles Confidential.
Los Angeles. It's not Law Confidential. It's not a Latin American film. It's wouldn't that be
Confidential?
Confidential. Yeah, I was gonna say you'd have to move it around a bit there. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Los Angeles. Go ahead, please.
Directed by Curtis Hanson, written by Brian Helgeland and Curtis Hanson, based on a novel by James Ellroy, and starring Kevin Spacey, Russell Crowe, Guy Pearce, James Cromwell, Kim Basinger, Danny DeVito, David Strathairn, Ron motherfucking Rifkin, Paul Guilfoyle, Matt McCoy, Simon Baker is in this movie.
Yeah, Land of the Dead's Simon Baker.
Mentalist's own Simon Baker.
Mentalist, I don't care. Land of the Dead's Simon Baker, yes, is in this movie.
What a cast. What a picture.
You don't even have to dare us to say it this week, Stephen. We straight up know it is a great picture.
It's a great cast. It's a great look. It was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
It lost,
which is why we were going to do it in January, but we did not.
We did not. Because life found a way.
Like it do.
And so we are going to talk about it now.
Cheers to that.
Yeah. So I will drink to that also. I have my beverage here. Mm-hmm. Cheers.
I've got water as usual. Cheers, fellas.
Yay.
That was a hoot.
Because you're drinking out of your Rocco's Modern Life class. Right on.
As is in accordance with tradition.
And the law.
Podcast law, yes.
But yeah, so we are talking about 1997's LA Confidential, a film that was nominated for Best Picture, but lost to, let me just check my notes here, a little movie called Titanic. Are you familiar with this film?
Yes.
You heard of this one?
Culturally relevant at the moment.
You guys seen this? You heard about this?
You guys seen this? You heard about this? Yeah, culturally relevant right now. Titanic. Oof.
Woo.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Some would say eat the rich. Others would say
Let them
crush
implode.
them under the weight of extreme pressures of the deep. Yeah, but there you go. Oof. Yeah, but no, we're talking about LA Confidential today. Yeah, it's a great movie. What do you want from me? What do you want from me, Tucker? You are the one who demanded that we cover this. What is your history with LA Confidential? What do you know of it? When did you discover it? Tell us about it.
Strap in, boys.
I'm buckled.
I'm strapped.
This is a I'll bet you are.
Hey-o.
This is a formative story of a young Tukey finding his way in the world. So I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that it's not boring because it is a very personal story. It's not very exciting, but I really want to tell you guys because it is the reason I've seen this film, and I saw it in a unique way. So when I was a young warthog.
When
Steven,
you
you're not
were
gonna...
a young
There you
warthog.
Thank you. So when I was but a lad of about 17, I met this gal at a theater conference in Muncie, Indiana, a high school theater conference. So once again, I will mention and repeatedly mention during the story that I was 17 years old because I will be talking about high school girls. So as a 17-year-old, a young 17-year-old man in high school, I met this girl at a high school theater conference, myself being 17. Okay, that's it. Everybody's got it now, right? Okay.
So you're 21 at the time of the story.
No, damn it, no. I'm not trying to go back to jail, Steven. I can't go back to jail, man. Damn.
I can't go back to prison.
Don't send me back, man. Don't you do it. Anyway, I met this gal and we really got along, and she was from Carmel High School. So she lived in Carmel. Her family was fabulously well-to-do.
As is generally the case with most people who live in Carmel.
And they had
if you're from Central
moved.
Indiana, you know.
Her father worked for Thompson Electronics. He was a real big deal. He designed a lot of really game-changing phone systems and stuff back in the day. And so they had kind of moved around with the company for a long time. In fact, they had just moved 6 months prior from Paris, France to Carmel, Indiana.
Which is different somehow than Paris, Texas? Is that accurate?
Yes, it's extremely different, yes.
Okay, interesting. Right.
But anyway, this gal and I became fast friends, and then we began dating, and like you do. And I eventually lived with her family for a while, but that's a whole different story. Yeah. So in their house, I think they had 12 bedrooms and I think 7 bathrooms.
How many of those did you occupy?
I am not counting the basement because the basement, I think, is bigger than any house I've ever actually lived in. But anyway, upstairs by her sister's room, there was a purple room. And the purple room was called the purple room because the walls were painted purple. So it was a purple room.
If I could make a quick interjection here. For those who did not grow up in Central Indiana, if you've ever seen the show Parks and Recreation, Carmel, Indiana is Eagleton in Parks and Rec.
I mean, yeah, it is based on that. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. I just wanted to, but then for some context for those who might not be familiar with Central Indiana, because I feel like that's, given what you've said about the place where this young lady lived, I feel it's relevant.
Yeah. Like I said, her family was fabulously well-to-do. And I mean every word of that. But they had a room that was purple because the walls were painted purple. And as everyone knows, television in North America is coded different than it is in Europe. In North America, we have what's called NTSC, and that's the way that the pixels are interlaced on a CRT television. This is all CRT stuff. It's the way the pixels are interlaced and the way that they're drawn on the screen. In Europe, they have what's called PAL, which is the same thing, only slightly different, to where they're not compatible with each other. So they had a PAL television with a PAL VCR and all of the VHS tapes that they bought when they lived in Paris. One of those tapes was LA Confidential. So my first experience with this movie was on a PAL VHS, on a PAL television, in a purple room with French subtitles.
Wild.
And I've just loved it ever since then. And what's great about this movie is that it's so good that even though I do have very specific memories attached to certain points in my life about this film, they don't always go hand in hand. I can watch the movie and not even like reminisce about that stuff if I want to, like in this instance where I wanted to share this with you guys because, like I said, it was a formative time in my life. I did live with them for a while, and I think the influence of both of her parents and the way that they treated me has kind of molded me in a positive way into who I am today. Like I don't know who I
Nice.
would be without them, honestly.
Right.
They helped me out in a time where not a lot of people wanted to help me out, my parents and family included, and they took a chance on me, and I really it's a big deal. And
Right on.
this movie is all part of that.
So it's kind of all into
whole
that
big
cake.
thing. Yes.
Right on.
But it's also its own thing. Like I said, it's also its own thing. Like it's still just one of the best movies ever. So it's got that going for it too, which is nice.
It is a very good film. Yes. Brett, where did you first happen upon this one? How did you come to to sit at the table of LA Confidential?
For this podcast on Sunday.
Hell yeah.
Damn,
Hell
son.
yeah.
Okay. Had you any level of familiarity with it prior to that?
No.
Okay.
I like how you leaned in like you were at like a congressional hearing or something. You know? like I plead the fifth.
I do not recall that. No.
I cannot comment on that at this time.
Right on. This is a movie I come back to about once a decade, usually, and then in the interim time, I will forget how good it is, and then I'll come back to it and go, "Oh, this is really good." So that's kind of what happened this time. I first saw this in college when I was kind of trying to do the the young budding cinephile thing, and one of your friends says, "Oh, have you seen LA Confidential yet?" And I'm like, "No." I was also regrettably at that time a fan of Kevin Spacey.
I mean,
sorry.
We didn't know. He's a great actor. We didn't know that he liked to diddle little boys. We didn't know that.
And God help us now that we do, honestly. But I was a big fan of The Usual Suspects, which was also directed by a terrible person. This movie not, but I mean both star and director of Usual Suspects.
As far as we know.
Terrible people. As far as we know. True. But yeah. That one was kind of my early exposure to Kevin Spacey. And then caught this one and really enjoyed it. But I will come back to this one about once every 10 years or so. So this is probably the third time I've seen it. And this is just, it's good. Like, it's just a really good, like, neo-noir that doesn't lean too heavily into the noirish elements. Like, you would expect a movie like this to really lean into those noirish elements, to film itself in such a way that like a 40s or 50s noir would be filmed. And this one avoids that in a way that I find really interesting, because I think in some ways the filmmaking is rather unremarkable in this movie. But in other ways, I think that's a feature, not a bug. So I find that kind of interesting in that regard. But yeah, damn it, if this movie is not just a really fun watch.
And it's so engaging too. Something I like about this movie, and I watched it a little more often than you, Steven, probably every year, every couple years.
Right. I might need to start watching it more frequently, honestly, because it's real good.
The thing about it is that what goes on in this film takes so many twists and turns and goes so many places that I get it and I enjoy it, but I never remember how it all goes down. I always remember what happens at the end.
Right.
But the
I always
middle is
remember who,
just like, I cannot remember how this is all connected. Like, I remember all the scenes,
yeah.
but
I
I'm like,
remember
so
all the
I watch
players.
it,
I know
yeah,
all the pieces on the board. Yeah.
every time I watch it, there's still a little bit of newness there because I'm like, oh yeah, that's how that goes to there, and this is here. Yep, okay, got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Brett, as someone who was watching this, and just again, as we always do, we're going to spoil the fuck out of this. So just be warned, it's going to happen. But Brett, as someone who came to this movie for the first time, for this recording, I'm kind of curious as to like what your thoughts were as to like how everything fit together, how it all played out, what you expected to happen versus what actually happened. Like, could you speak to that for a little bit?
Well, it's not going to be very much because when I watch movies like this, and even when it comes to like horror movies with like intricate plots, I kind of shut my brain off because
Okay.
I hate the people that try to figure it out and like they're like, you know, about 10 minutes before the finale they've solved it and they're like, "Oh, I know what's going to happen." I hate those people.
Sorry.
I'm not a fan. Either keep it to yourself. That's all.
I do
You
try
can
to do
that. Just keep it to yourself.
Let Brett take the ride, man. Let him take the ride.
Look, I was in my defense, I was raised by my father, who was exactly that kind of film watcher, who would have it figured out usually within 10 minutes of the thing starting. He'd be go, "Oh, this is that guy's it's that guy," and be like, "Have you seen this before?" He's like, "No, it's just really predictable." So, in my defense, that is where I get that. But yeah.
And that's what the annoying thing is because everybody that does that says that. I don't know if you do, Steven. You might not, but everybody that I've known, other than you, who does that says, "Oh, it's so predictable. Of course, I figured it out." No, you're just an asshole. Like you spent the entire movie trying to figure it out. That doesn't mean it's predictable.
Well, instead of enjoying the film.
Yeah, I'm just enjoying it. I want to sit there and enjoy it and be surprised.
Right, man. Strap in and take the ride.
There have been instances where I have figured out the twist within the first minute and a half, and I'm literally sitting there the whole time trying to figure out if I'm right. Secret Window was one of those. The Stephen King, Johnny Depp film.
Yeah, Johnny
Secret
Depp,
Window.
John Turturro.
Yeah,
is in that one.
Yeah, I had that one figured out within like the first 2 minutes, and I had to keep it to myself because I was watching it with the girl I was dating at the time, and she was like, "Oh, you're gonna love the twist ending on this," and I was like, "I know what it is already."
And see, that's so frustrating. If I had been that woman, I would have been so pissed off at you.
She was flabbergasted that I had figured out, but I didn't like. I was legitimately sitting there the whole time trying to figure out if I was right. So I was like watching the movie, trying to see if there were any holes in my theory, and I didn't see any. And then at the end, I was actually right. So,
and then she was like, "Oh, Steven, I'm so impressed."
Yeah, doubt that happened,
right?
Something like that. Sure.
Okay, yeah. You're so smart.
You know, like if I'm showing you a movie that has a twist at the end, and you tell me you've figured it out already, I'm going to punch you in the face. Like I'm showing you this really good movie that has a really good twist at the end, and you've just ruined it for yourself already.
You know the best way to keep me from doing that, Brett?
What's that?
Don't tell me it has a twist in it. Don't tell me there's a twist and I won't be looking for one.
What the twist?
Shouldn't matter. Look, man, we just watch movies differently. That's fine.
We
can agree to disagree here. We just watch movies differently. It's okay.
I think that's well established on this podcast up to this point.
It is.
Long-time listeners know this. Yes,
we watch movies differently, and we watch them for different reasons. So
exactly.
And that's why it makes for a good podcast, you guys.
I agree.
Because we all have slightly different opinions, sometimes wildly different opinions, but always at least slightly different opinions.
Sometimes we line up pretty solidly, and sometimes we don't, and that's what makes for the conversation, right?
Yes, it would be so boring if we just agreed all the time.
Yeah, that wouldn't be any fun at all.
So Brett turns his brain off. So what? How did you enjoy the ride then? I guess on this movie.
I mean, I thought it was great because I mean, when I say I shut my brain off, it's not like I'm, you know,
you're not like
you're not working. You're not working it. You're not using the mental capacity. You're engaged in the film. You're not trying to work out the math to figure out what's going on and who's behind it.
Like I said, you're taking the ride. You're taking the ride.
I'm enjoying it from scene to scene. I'm going, man, I can't wait to see how this plays out. I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm just like, I wonder how this plays out.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, and in that sense, I quite enjoyed it.
Right on.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, this movie, it's good. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Like what kind they Curtis Hanson had the option of, like, the studio really wanted a big name, really wanted a big star to lead the movie. Curtis Hanson fought them on that, but they like cut his budget significantly, so he really couldn't hire one. So he decided to hire 3 relatively no-name actors, the exception being Kevin Spacey, because he had won an Oscar a couple years earlier for The Usual Suspects, the aforementioned Usual Suspects. But Russell Crowe really did not have much of a American film career up to this point.
All he had done is Romper Stomper at this point, hadn't he?
97. So before, I mean, he gets his
That's
start.
how he got the job.
I believe it. I mean, Romper Stomper's 92. So he's done a few other things. Love in Limbo in 93, Silver Brumby, but just mostly
nothing that anyone gives a shit about.
A bunch of, honestly, just a bunch of Australian films until 1995, Brett. And do you know what he does in 1995? A movie that you and I both declare as one of our favorites by one of our favorite directors.
Was it Gladiator?
No, he does Gladiator in 2000.
Yeah,
okay.
So
I
that's
feel like that would be
1995. Later. He does a little Western movie.
Oh, The Quick and the Dead.
Called The Quick and the Dead. And then
my favorite Sam Raimi film.
Whoa,
that's a good one. It's up there for me too.
What are you saying no for? We talked about this already.
It's top 5 for me, but like number 1 Sam Raimi film, like that's for coming from a horror guy like you. That is a bit
okay. Steven, what's your number one? What's your number 1 Sam Raimi film?
Spider-Man 2.
Simple Plan.
You know what? Here's the thing: Sam Raimi has made way more good movies than bad movies.
I know.
And then also, here's the thing: like I've been, and maybe I've been influenced in a bad way, but because I think when we did originally talk about this, it was probably Evil Dead 2. I think is what I chose as my favorite Sam Raimi film.
I think so, yeah. Which is my number 2.
But you know, I've been introducing my girlfriend to the Evil Dead series, which I think I've talked about before, and she does not like them. She does not like how they seem to have no logic whatsoever, which I think is part of the fun. I think it's part of the fun.
Yeah,
but she's the kind of person that needs logic, like I need lore.
I was gonna say that's got to be a really fun relationship dynamic when you guys are engaging in media.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. Our conversation about Event Horizon was a grand time. Let me tell you.
Oh, I can only imagine. God, to have been a fly on the wall for that talk.
That was a fun conversation. Let me tell you. I used air quotes, by the way.
Yeah, Brett may have had to like take a time out. Brett may have had to take a walk around the block.
But like, I mean, she didn't hate it.
Shower.
It wasn't like the Evil Dead. She didn't hate Event Horizon. She was just frustrated by the lack of logic.
I believe it. I've seen that movie for this podcast. In fact, yeah.
She actively hated the remake of Evil Dead.
Ooh,
really?
Thought Evil Dead 2 didn't give you enough time to breathe and was just too much.
That's what I love about it.
That's the point of the movie. That's why it's the ultimate experience in grueling horror. They don't call it that for nothing.
And she thought Evil Dead Rise was just okay.
I still haven't seen Evil Dead Rise.
So good.
It's on Max right now, so I have no excuse.
Now. You have no excuse, yeah.
I don't.
Roommate approval. It was so scary. My roommate had to turn it off halfway through and wait until somebody else was in the house to finish it.
Oh, hell.
She loved it. Loved it.
I mean, it's great. Right and the other thing is, like, she's a big horror fan, but she doesn't like gore. So that's the other thing.
That's fair too. Yeah.
I get that. I'm not a big gore head, so I understand.
So her opinions, because unlike the Event Horizon conversation, she was making some real good points about Evil Dead. And I was like, I can't argue with that. Then that's upsetting me. So...
You're right, and I can't handle it.
I couldn't. It was shattering my whole world. Like, I love Evil Dead. Why are you ruining it?
First of all, how dare you? Second of all, how dare you?
But she didn't ruin it. I still love Evil Dead. This
as well you should.
The Quick and the Dead just kind of overtook it after the Evil Dead rewatch. Like, you know, I keep saying maybe I'll show her the original Evil Dead. Maybe I'll show her Army of Darkness, but she doesn't really have any interest anymore. So...
That's a
besides, Army of Darkness is more comedy.
It is. But again, that I think that's what I love about those first 3 Evil Dead movies is they all kind of take place on a different plane of reality.
Well, they're like slightly different universes in the multiverse because
Yes.
Ash is everything's different every time.
Mhm.
Slightly, only slightly.
Very
Even in the
slightly.
remake, you know, and like the book looks different in every movie, including the
Yes.
remake and Rises. The book looks completely different in each
Depending on how much money they have to actually put into production.
Mhm.
Yes.
Well, then there's the theory that that's intentional. After this
Sure.
one, it's intentional.
And I believe
You-
that. I
yeah,
have no
there-
problem with that, actually.
there's a line in Evil Dead Rise that maybe indicates that they're going to turn this into like a crossover movie next time.
Which
yes,
is
I noticed that,
fine.
and I'm
I won't-
here for it.
Yeah, me
By
too.
the way,
I
I'm
won't
here
spoil
for
it for you, Steven.
Thank you.
But yeah, there's
Because I
there's a
am
line-
going to
Dude,
watch it.
watch
I just
it.
don't know when, but I am going to watch
Right
it.
now, you're gonna watch it as soon as we're done with this podcast.
I don't know about that, but I
Let's
am
just
going to
pause
watch
the
it.
podcast right now. Go watch
I
it,
just
Steven. Come
put
back.
it on your calendar, Steven. You can't not do it if it's on your calendar.
I could not do a lot of things on my calendar in point of fact, but
How dare you?
I am the worst.
First of all, how dare you? Second of all, how dare
How
you?
dare you? And then also later on in 95, he's in a little Denzel Washington movie called Virtuosity that I know Brett is also a fan of.
Man, I haven't seen that movie since it came out, but you better believe I love the shit out of that movie.
Yeah, no surprise there. He's in another movie, 95, called Rough Magic. 95, a good year for Russell Crowe. 4 movies in 95, but beyond that, not much of someone that people know. So he's kind of an unknown commodity.
Still small
this film.
potatoes for sure.
Exactly. And then he's Australian, like he's an Aussie. So I think James Elroy did like an event in Australia, and someone asked him if they were ever going to make a film out of one of his novels, and he's like, well, yeah, they have optioned to LA Confidential, and they actually cast a couple of Aussies, and everyone laughed because no one believed him. And then Guy Pearce was actually like in the audience, so he was like, oh, okay. Oh, darn. But Guy Pearce, actually, up to this point, was also kind of a relative unknown. I'm looking at his filmography.
I think the
now.
only thing of note, like he did a lot, but the only thing of note is The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
I was going to say Priscilla, Queen of the Desert in 94.
Which is the Australian Tu Wong Fu. If you haven't seen it, it's fabulous.
Really, Tu Wong Fu is the American Priscilla, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll allow that. But yeah, great double feature, you guys. We should all watch both of those movies together.
I do need to watch both of those, and honestly,
and your boy Agent Smith. Agent Smith is in that movie as well. Who's the other guy?
Let's find out. Where's my Guy Pearce?
Or should I say gal? Terrence Stamp.
Terrence Stamp, of course. Terrence Stamp. God, I love Terrence Stamp.
Malcolm McDowell's weird-looking brother is what I always think of him as.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, look, Guy Pearce quickly became one of my favorite actors, actually, between this and Memento.
He did Memento. Yeah. Like
right after it was a few years, like 2000,
really?
he does Memento. Yeah. 3 years later.
Damn.
He's in what he is in between then, but which also comes out in 2000, the William Friedkin film Rules of Engagement.
Cool.
And then 2002, he does the Jim Caviezel Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, hey, that guy was Jesus in that Mel Gibson horror movie.
that Mel Gibson gore fest, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
But no, Guy Pearce, fucking great actor. Love Guy Pearce. For a while,
so
he
good
was
in this too, man. He embodies that character. He becomes that man. All of the performances in this movie, I am convinced that that's just who those people are, because all of the performances in this movie are top fucking notch. Every single person in this movie should have been at least nominated for Academy Award. They should have made new categories for like ensemble cast. Everybody gets one. LA Confidential.
Well, that's usually what the SAG would do. But yeah, look, no, this movie is the casting is absolutely fantastic. It really is.
And fuck Kevin Spacey, but I couldn't see anybody else in that role. He kills it. Perfect.
He's very good. I think James Elroy said he had never seen better self-loathing on film. This film did actually get several Oscar nominations. It got nominated for Best Picture. It won Best Supporting Actress. Kim Basinger was nominated for Best Director. It won Best Writing. Was also nominated for cinematography, art direction, sound, film editing, and score by the late great Jerry Goldsmith.
Yeah,
I
dude.
love a good Jerry Goldsmith score. Love it.
Yes, dude.
The man who wrote the Gremlins rag can do no wrong.
Yeah, man. He did the.
He also did the theme song for Star Trek: The Next Generation. Dun, 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 dun. That's Jerry Goldsmith. Yeah,
Straight
so
up motherfucking space.
yeah, that's
The
it.
spinal frontier.
Not the penultimate frontier. No, the final frontier. No, Jerry Goldsmith fucking rules. And again, one of those prolific like soundtrack guys that you're just, when you see his name, you're like, okay, I'm in good hands. Like, just want to, and again, worked in Hollywood for just decades, just cranking out consistently great work. So we stand Jerry Goldsmith, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, that more of the actors in this film did not get nominations is probably just due to the fact that they probably couldn't agree on who the lead actor they wanted to support was, and it probably ended up splitting between the three. Because I think Russell Crowe's still a couple years away from his first nomination for The Insider, which he should have won for The Insider. The Insider's fucking good. He's so fucking good in The Insider.
Yup.
But they would give it to him the next year for Gladiator as kind of an apology. And then the next year he's in a better movie than Gladiator and gets nominated but doesn't win for that one because he'd already won for Gladiator. So what are you going to do? What are you
can you do at that point?
I don't know that Beautiful Mind is a better movie, but I think it's a better performance.
Yeah, he is. I agree with that statement, actually. And I do love me some Ron Howard, but that movie is fine at best.
At best. Not Best Picture worthy. But again, that one was Best Picture. That was Ron Howard's apology for not even getting fucking nominated for Apollo 13.
Which,
so,
that's fair. Yeah, Apollo 13 slapped.
Yeah, agreed. So, I don't know, man. Yes, we're going to do Oscar talk on this episode because this was supposed to be in our Oscar month at the beginning of the year, and it wasn't. So we're circling back is what we do.
So if I sound checked out at any point, that would be why.
That's why. But we can wrap that up right now. We can move on to other things like, I don't know, maybe the plot of this movie.
Maybe the plot. Who knows?
Maybe we do that in 60 seconds. Maybe. While Brett preps the D6 of Destiny, I will recount what the plot in 60 is. It is the part of the show where we, at the behest of that D6, do recount the plot of 1997's LA Confidential in 60 seconds or less. Brett will assign us sides of the die. He will roll the die, and it will decide which of us will be presenting that plot. Brett, who is what today?
I'll be 1 and 2. I liked it, but it was, my first time. 3 and 4 for you, Steven. 5 and 6, because this is Tucker's favorite film of all time. So
kind of seems that way, yeah.
It's way up there. Way
Here
up there.
we go. Huzzah! And that is a 5.
That's a
That
Tucker.
means it's me?
Yes.
Cool.
You don't seem to mind this one as much as you did some of the ones last month.
It's very
I
apropos.
don't care. There's no way that I can get into the finer points of this plot in 60 seconds. So I'm just going to hit the broad strokes, boys.
That's what you have to do. I'm going to give you, I've got 60 seconds on the clock. I'm going to give you the 30 and the 10-second warnings, as I always do. When you are ready to begin, the time will start.
Okay, so all these Mexican dudes get arrested for beating up some cops or whatever, even though they didn't do it. So all the drunk cops at the Christmas party come down and beat the shit out of them, and everybody gets in trouble. And Guy Pearce rats on the guys who did it because Guy Pearce is actually he has integrity, which is weird for a cop. Am I right, guys? Am I right? And so one of the dudes that takes the fall for it is Russell Crowe's partner, and he gets killed in this mass shooting at they didn't call him that then, at a diner. And they find out that it was not 3 young African-American men. It was James Cromwell. And at the end, he's like, "That'll do, pig. That'll do."
10 seconds.
That's it. That's the whole thing. Oh yeah, Kim Basinger's there, and Kevin Spacey's like a cop who is he consults for a TV show, and the guy from Land of the Dead
That's
is
time.
there as a guy that gets fucked over by literally everyone in that film.
Oh my
The end.
god. Yeah, he is the punching bag of the movie.
Poor little
Yeah,
guy. I feel so bad for him.
Kevin Spacey is a police consultant on basically the alternate universe version of Dragnet.
Yeah.
Everyone calls him Just the Facts Jack because his name is Jack, and that's apparently the catchphrase on the show. They don't go into as much detail about the show in the film as they do in the book. And that's probably for the best because what you learn, the first thing you learn in the book about the star of that show is gross.
Yeah.
And it's a thing we would all eventually learn about Kevin Spacey too, which makes it extra gross. So yeah, not good. Not good.
No.
But
Oh,
you
and
can.
Danny DeVito. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
You were completing a thought though. I was starting one. So
I was just gonna say the guy they play, they get to play the star of that show. He's the guy that played Lloyd Braun on Seinfeld, and
he's the guy.
he's always he always seems weird when like there's something else going on with this guy. Every time you see him, you're like, what is this guy's deal? That's just kind of like the look of this particular actor. So it's not spoken in the movie, but you kind of get that vibe just because of who they cast, honestly.
I can dig it. He does have a very creepy way about him.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Danny DeVito.
I was just gonna say, hey, also Danny DeVito is the reporter in this, and this every time I watch this movie, I'm so shocked to see violence being done to Danny DeVito. Yes. I've never seen like actual serious violence done to Danny DeVito except in this movie, and it's troubling. It takes me aback a bit.
It's disturbing.
Because Danny DeVito, man, you don't fuck up Danny DeVito.
This is one of the best Danny DeVito performances outside of those directed by himself and Tim Burton too, I would say.
You obviously haven't seen Jack the Bear, but I will agree with most of that statement.
I have not seen Jack the Bear.
That movie's fucked up, but he's really good in it. It's just really sad. It's not fucked up. It's just really sad. Like really sad.
Look, Danny DeVito does fucked up better than pretty much any. I think we talked about this on was it the My Little Pony episode where we did an entire sidebar on Danny DeVito as a director? Pony.
Yes, it was that episode. Because both him and Rhea Perlman were in that movie.
Right. And this is like the third or fourth time we've actually talked about Danny DeVito on this podcast too, which is great.
Well, I mean, he is a legend.
He is. He's great. Yeah. And it's really fun to see him in this movie. Again, this is the kind of movie that you would expect to see him in as a director or a producer. Like Man on the Moon, he plays kind of a similar kind of role in that one that he does here. But he's God, I love it. I love it when Danny gets something good to do.
Yep, agreed.
He's also, of course, very good on a little show called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So he
was also amazing in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
He is actually the below the line cast on that movie is insane. Because it's like him, Christopher Lloyd, Brad Dourif, Brad motherfucking Dourif, Chucky himself, Grima Wormtongue motherfucker in the house. Like, hell yes. So good.
It's a really good movie.
So good. Yeah. But no, Danny DeVito he's fucking killing it in this movie. Like, absolutely killing it in this movie. I love it. I love everything he's doing in this. Is good.
I think everybody's great in this, and even the minor characters like Russell Crowe's partner and the cop that was working for the porno guy. Even those are very well cast and very memorable performances, even though they're not there very much, but they fill their roles very, very, very well. Like that's why this is a perfect movie. There's nothing in this movie that does not push the plot forward. There's nothing that isn't just like phenomenal performance-wise. Everybody's firing on all cylinders in this movie.
It feels a lot tighter than the book, based on just what I've read of the book so far, which I'm not done with the book, but it just feels everything feels a little tighter.
I think this is when you do finish the book, Stephen, I think you'll see that this is kind of a perfect book to film adaptation. Especially a book that long, because it's able to take the broad strokes and sort of squish them into one part of the story and make that an entire narrative.
Mhm.
It's like the same thing that There Will Be Blood did with oil. It's the same
Yeah.
kind of adaptation where you're just taking a little piece of it, but you're making it an entire narrative, and you're taking things from all over the book.
Right. And I mean, that tracks, because like the main character of, I think, the previous novel in James Ellroy's LA Quartet is Buzz Meeks, and he's killed off in this one. About halfway through the movie, they find him dead under the house, dead under
So
the porch.
smelly. So
So
smelly.
stinky. It's probably a rat, right? Yeah, great big one.
That lady,
Um,
come on, get out of here.
mm,
She's great. I love her.
she is hilarious. Yeah. And then, but in the book, he dies like in the prologue. Like he's dead before the story starts. And I think you know who kills him too. I think they straight up tell you who the name of the guy that kills him, and then you find out later that, oh, that's an important. But again, Smith had also been a character in his previous novel. Like there's 4 novels. It's the Black Dahlia.
Oh, Dudley, yeah, because it probably, I'll bet, yeah, no, yeah, because, sorry, I'll bet the other book, the previous book, I've never read it, but I'll bet it has to do with the stuff that Buzz and Dudley were doing, the stuff they uncover at the end of them like running their racket when they were both just like dudes on the force.
Yeah,
I'm sure it probably has to do with that, right? It has to.
I mean, yeah, Buzz Meeks is one of the 3 main characters in The Big Nowhere, which is the second book in the LA Quartet. And I think Dudley Smith, I think, is the like the chief of police or something. But like, yeah, this novel begins basically, I'm guessing, with the fallout of the previous novel. He's an LAPD lieutenant at the end of Dudley Smith is a lieutenant at the end of The Big Nowhere. So it's the Black Dahlia, The Big Nowhere, LA Confidential, and the last book is White Jazz, which features Ed Exley, Guy Pearce's character, and continues his story. So yeah, it's all wrapped up in there.
Honestly, I would have liked to have had more of Bud White, because even though on the surface he's kind of just like this ape of a man, I think that his character is complex in such an interesting way.
Agreed.
Because everything that he hates and everything that he fights against is what's inside of him. And he's not a good man, and he knows he's not a good man.
I would argue none of these people are.
That's why some of them think they are.
That's the problem.
Bud White knows he's not a good man, and he knows that by not being a good man, maybe he could do some good on the police force, if that makes sense. Because he loves going around like beating on dudes that beat on their wives.
Yeah.
Which is great. And then later in the movie, he starts beating up Kim Basinger, and like that whole scene.
Exactly.
Like,
it's hard to watch. Yeah.
Well, and the way he reacts to it is the hardest part, because I think he realizes at that point that like he can never be in that kind of situation.
The cycles of violence
trust himself. Yeah. It's just handed down, and he knows that there's no hope for him. So he might as well just beat up dudes that beat up ladies.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's in the novel, they kind of like hint at the fact that he kind of tends to eschew relationships with women longstanding, potentially out of the fear that he is latently somewhere deep down not that different from his own father, who beat his mother to death with a tire iron right in front of him. Like, that's fucked up shit. But and again, you can see how someone raised in that environment with that kind of upbringing would grow up to be that kind of fucked up.
Yeah. I really enjoy the chemistry between the 3 main leads as well. Once they all kind of start getting friendly with each other and working together, they're just bouncing off each other, acting wise.
It's electric. Yeah.
I mean, it's especially, I mean, with Kevin Spacey too, but he doesn't really stick around that long after they all become pals. He kind of goes away, and that is, even though I know it's going to happen, that shocks me every time when he turns around and shoots him.
Yeah,
because it's just it's out of nowhere, man.
And it's as soon as he says, "Who else did you tell?" And he's like, "No one." I'm okay, good, you're dead.
Yeah, he was ready, But especially between Russell Crowe and Guy Pearce, when they get together, their energy is so like polar opposites of one another that somehow it just like sticks together like a magnet. Like I wish that this had spawned a bunch of like movies with Russell Crowe and Guy Pearce as like the leads,
Definitely.
because I could watch these two guys hash it out for days.
Russell Crowe
For days.
says this is one of 2 movies where he loved the character he played in it so much that he wishes it had gotten sequels just so he could go back and play that character again. The other one being another future episode of this podcast, The Nice Guys. We'll cover that one day.
Nice. I'll finally get to see that. I've wanted to see it for so long.
It's good, man.
Everybody says it's amazing. I can't wait.
Like the best Shane Black movies are the ones he does in between big studio movies where they're trying to get him in hooked into a franchise. But Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys are just so fucking good. And Russell Crowe is so good in The Nice Guys. He's absolutely unbelievable.
Nice guys.
But yeah, I think one of the reviewers that I follow on Letterboxd said that this movie was like The Wizard of Oz because Guy Pearce gets the courage, Russell Crowe gets a brain, and Kevin Spacey gets a heart.
Hey, that tracks. That's good. I like that. I like that a lot.
So I mean it's a good read for this movie, which I thought was very well observed.
And James Cromwell gets to be a nasty little villain after his performance in Babe. It's so wonderful.
He is the most recognizable person in this movie at the time, and it's because of Babe. So when he turns out to be your cold-blooded killer at the end, it is actually a shock.
Well, even if you don't know that he's a bad guy, from the first time you see him, you know he's a bad guy. Because the first conversation he has is with Exley, where he's like, would you fucking be a piece of shit cop for justice? And that first conversation, you know exactly who this motherfucker is. You don't know he's the big bad, but you know exactly what kind of idiot this guy is.
And when Russell Crowe comes in, he's like, oh well, he's the guy that can answer yes to all those questions that I've been asking you. Like you're just until you know exactly who he is now as a result, and that's why he becomes the muscle for James Cromwell later in the film.
Yarp.
And I really like, speaking of justice, I like how each of the 3 main characters says the word justice once, I believe, and it's always in relation to what they think justice is. And I thought that was a really interesting, synergy, symmetry of
I hadn't thought of that before, but I see what you mean.
Each one of them only talks about justice once, and it's in relation to what they think it is, and it's not really brought up again.
You know what this means? Do you know what this means?
I don't. Tell me.
It means that with this new information Brett has brought to light.
New information has come to light, man.
Sometimes you need some fresh eyes.
I will be testing out my new Blu-ray of LA Confidential very soon because I had never noticed that before, and that's
I don't think I had either.
Brilliant.
That's great.
Brilliant.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, also, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong and they bring up justice other times. Maybe I missed it.
I would definitely let you know. Yeah.
But no, I mean, but thematically, I like that quite a bit, actually. Yeah, no, I dig that. I love it.
I'm really excited to do a deep dive into this Blu-ray because this DVD I've had for 20 years, like Warner Brothers cardboard.
It's the little clamshell,
DVD.
God, I hate those. I hate the cardboard cover ones. They annoy me.
Now, it's very surprising that this is a one-sided disc. Usually, discs that come in packages like this had one side that was 4:3, and the other side was the original aspect ratio.
Right.
Luckily, this is only widescreen.
Well, and then if they didn't have both, they would usually have to spell out on the cover if it was full screen or widescreen. And you should always buy the widescreen. Even if you don't have a widescreen TV, you always buy the widescreen.
During the days of DVD, I would not allow anyone to buy me DVDs as gifts. Because grandma don't know widescreen from full screen, man. She don't give a shit. She
I
gonna
would
pick up
always
you the whole. She
specify.
gonna
But
pick
yeah,
up the whole Indiana Jones trilogy for you in
full
full
screen.
screen.
Yeah,
And you're like,
rough.
great, Grandma. What the fuck am I supposed to do with these?
That's rough. That's real rough.
Yeah, man.
That's
Fuck all
tough.
that shit.
You hate that. You really do.
That
hate
rant
that.
sounded like it was written by Kevin Smith. It was,
Influences, man. Influences.
yeah, you sounded like Randall. It was hilarious.
Well, that is an honor. That is an honor that I will accept. I appreciate that. But this DVD, it doesn't have a lot of stuff. It has like a few behind the scenes things, like person going around with the camera or whatever. But this Blu-ray has what they're calling a commentary, which with as many people who are listed for the commentary, I have to imagine it's just a round table interview that they play while the movie is playing.
Or it could be one of those things where they get everybody to like watch the movie and comment on it, and not one of them had enough stuff to say, so they kind of
pick out the best parts. Yeah.
Like they did with
way,
Armageddon or Monty Python and the Holy Grail, because you can't get the 6 of those or the 5 of those guys in a room together.
Either way, it's going to be an interesting listen. There are also some new special features, like some retrospective documentary type things on here. It has the TV series pilot. Now, I'm not sure if that's the 2008 or the 2019 one. I'm not sure which one it is. The one with Kiefer Sutherland, I hope. I was going to say that's the 2003 or 8. And then it has vintage interviews with the cast. Yeah. It's got a lot more stuff than I've ever had before on like this disc. There's a few cool behind the scenes things, but it's like those ones that they'd show at the movie theater instead of a trailer. It would be like, let's see what's going on behind the scenes of the upcoming film LA Confidential.
Or
and
like the ones
like, it's really great, you know, we're all just out there, we're really hustling, we're trying to get the ball to the hoop. It's just we just got to make more points than the other team, and you know.
Yeah, the Entertainment Tonight like cover stories or
Yes.
Yeah, the ones that would play like between movies on HBO or some shit. Yeah.
I'm glad they exist, but it's not ideal, is all I'm saying.
No, it's not. It's not like an actual legit featurette, which is what you're really looking for. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a DVD doesn't have a lot going for it when it lists interactive menus as one of the features on the disc.
Oof. What? It doesn't just start up.
I always knew when I was, even in the early days when I was shopping for DVDs, if I saw interactive menus as one of the special features, I was like, oof, they really didn't put a lot of effort into this, did they? And that's usually the case, yeah.
And hey, this came with the digital code as well that expired in 2014, but it worked. So guess what, you guys? It's on my Vudu now, so you can watch it to your heart's content.
Hells yeah. Love that for all of us.
And anybody else, there's probably a handful of other people that have access to my Vudu account. You all can watch it too.
And if you're listening, you can watch that also. I do want to talk a little bit about director Curtis Hanson. Do you guys know anything else that Curtis Hanson has directed?
I will in a second.
Well,
my internet is.
Let me just tell you.
He directed 8 Mile. That was the one.
Yes.
Because Kim Basinger. There's the Kim Basinger connection.
But he before this,
I was actually. I'm sorry, Steven. I was actually describing this movie to someone last night, and I was like, "And Kim Basinger's in it." And this kid was like, "Who's that?" I was like, Eminem's mom." And he was like, "Oh yeah, okay, I know exactly who you're talking about."
Generation gaps are fun.
Yes.
his big, I think his big American break.
Older than this kid.
Oof.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think his big American break is 92 with The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
That was one people liked. People liked that.
And then in 94, he does The River Wild with Kevin Bacon. This is 97. Based on this, he gets Wonder Boys in 2000.
Which is also by What's His Nuts, isn't it?
Is it? Let me pull it up here. That's Michael Chabon. The Cavalier and Clay guy.
Okay.
But that's Michael Douglas, Tobey Maguire. I think Robert Downey Jr. is in there. Yep.
Yeah.
Frances McDormand, Katie Holmes, Rip Torn.
Yes, we've all seen it.
And then 8 Mile, of course, In Her Shoes, Lucky You, and then the last movie he directed is in 2012. So he's not directing anything for like a decade. A little movie called Chasing Mavericks with
He
Johnny Weston and Gerard
Steven,
Butler.
he hasn't directed anything, Steven, because he died in 2016.
That might be why. That would explain
There
it.
you go.
That would
Mystery
explain
solved. R.I.P.
But he didn't do anything in those last 4 years. So
Oh, he's just chilling.
yeah, I mean, he might have actually had been like very sick. I don't know. Natural causes apparently is how he died.
He was just like, I'm ready, and closed his eyes, and then he was gone.
Man had been around since 1945, so you know he had a good run.
He hung in there.
Oh, I'm looking at his IMDb trivia. It says he retired due to Alzheimer's.
Well, yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it. So yeah, there we go. R.I.P. Curtis Hanson.
Yeah, absolutely.
I should probably read IMDb more carefully before I open my mouth.
To be fair, I did not know that he was dead either, but I just happened to see it on the IMDb while you were talking about how he hadn't done anything in so long.
And and I probably should have noticed that, but I didn't.
Hey, that's all right, man.
And then you've got fucking Kevin Spacey in this movie. God.
I mean, we don't really have to discuss him at all.
No.
He was in this movie.
Hooray. Like, I believe I already encapsulated our opinion when I said, fuck Kevin Spacey. I said, fuck Kevin Spacey. Man, he's really good in this movie.
That's about it.
And I honestly, you could probably say that for a lot of his performances too. Like again, he was
most of them,
in the early 2000s. He was one of my favorite actors. Like
I was a fan for sure too, because he was delivering time after time, performance after performance, and he just had a string of incredible films that he was incredible in. So yeah, you can't blame anybody for loving Kevin Spacey at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, no more. There's a reason. He's half the reason we probably will not cover Superman Returns on this podcast. The other half being he who must not be named, who directed it. So.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Yeah, we don't like him. We don't say
not
his name.
Christopher McQuarrie.
No, the other one, the bad one.
Yeah, the other one.
The one who does not direct every Tom Cruise movie now.
You guys, I can't believe how successful Christopher McQuarrie has become. And I'm so happy for him, and I'm so proud of him, but nobody mentions The Way of the Gun. Nobody talks about The Way of the Gun.
No.
And I have to research and find a way to get that movie on our main feed. Because I really want you guys to see it, because it is a time capsule of filmmaking like you have never seen. It is such a product of its time like nothing else ever has been. And not because of like, you know, the way people are dressed or like the technology they use, but the way it's written, the way it's filmed, and the performances are extremely of that time. And it is a sight to behold, you guys. You may not like it, but you're going to be impressed that it exists.
He started writing for Tom Cruise in like 2008. In the film directed by He Who Must Not Be Named, Valkyrie, and then got brought on to do Jack Reacher, Edge of Tomorrow, and then Rogue Nation, I think was the one that I think he did a pass on maybe one of the previous Mission Impossible movies, and Tom Cruise is like, see, this guy gets it. And then the next thing you know, he is writing and directing every Mission Impossible movie in a franchise that had historically up to that point been an auteurs franchise. Like they would bring in a new auteur every movie, and then as of Rogue Nation, we're like, nope, it's all Chris now. And that's pretty much what he does now. He's like Tom Cruise's right-hand guy.
Him and Simon Pegg and Tom Cruise just hang out all the time.
Yeah.
And they don't talk about religion.
Nor should they.
Well, no, that's a real thing. I read an interview. I sent you guys the interview with Simon Pegg. I don't know that you guys read it or not. The one where I sent a screenshot and circled the part where he said that pop culture is turning us into babies. And I was like, see, Simon Pegg gets it. Says the guy on a pop culture podcast. But
right.
Hey, I'm not saying I'm not guilty myself. I'm just pointing it out. I'm self-aware.
Right. I mean,
And
yeah,
being
he's not
self-aware is
wrong.
half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
Cobra!
Just playing all the
Thank
hits
you.
today.
Thank
Just
you.
playing all
Thank
the
you.
hits.
Call back.
Time Life presents a 12-volume series.
Oh God.
Oh boy.
But yeah,
Good times, you guys.
no, like yeah, Chris McCoy's career, wild the turns it's taken.
Good for him. I'm so happy for him. I really am.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
deserves it. He's
What a-
great. He's
what
great.
a guy! What a guy! What a guy!
Yeah.
Kim Basinger won an Oscar for this movie.
That's yeah. That's cool.
That's pretty wild.
She's really great in this movie.
She is,
And I don't want to besmirch her performance in this.
Then don't.
But even though I think she's great and she's perfect in the role and she does nothing wrong, how is she the person that wins the Oscar in this movie?
Let's take a look, Brett. I'm sorry to have to do this, but let's take a look at that. This is everyone's favorite part of the show, where Steven looks up shit in real time.
I like this part of the show.
Who doesn't really? He's talking about the Oscar talk. I'm really, gonna leave.
Yeah, that's
Brett
leave my
likes it when I
brain
look
for a
up
little while.
information, not when I talk Oscars. Hang on.
Why not both?
Por qué no los dos?
Pourquoi, Jeff?
Pourquoi? All right.
My
give
name
me
is
a sec.
Jeff.
1997. Okay.
You're a bad dude, Brett. You're a bad dude.
I've not been paying attention. I've been looking up information, so I don't know what was said.
No, that's great. We're filling dead air, so I don't have to do a bunch of editing later.
Did he call me Jeff? Is that what he called
No,
me?
quoting 21 Jump
Maybe.
Street.
Oh, okay.
The film 21 Jump Street.
I mean, someone with the last name Foxworthy never gets called Jeff in any kind of context ever. So,
You should be glad you're not a redneck.
so here, who is nominated in '97 for
Sure.
Best Supporting Actress? It
Give me
is
the list.
Kim Basinger, who does win for LA Confidential, Joan Cusack for In and Out, which is a great nomination. She is so funny in that movie, and it's very rare that you get a comedy nomination in any category.
This is true.
You get Minnie Driver for Good Will Hunting. You get Julianne Moore for Boogie Nights, which again is another great nomination.
Yeah.
And then you get Gloria Stewart for Titanic.
Okay, I see what happened. I see what happened here. Now that you mentioned all of those names, I understand why Kim Basinger got the Oscar there. It's not because she gave the best performance out of all of those nominees,
Which is what it should be.
It's because people could not believe that performance came out of a supermodel. That's why she got that Oscar, because people were like, are you serious? How is she this good?
Mm-hmm.
How is this possible? This does not compute. Error 404. I have internet connectivity problems. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because let me see what else she won for that role. Because I mean, usually there's a lot of precursor wins leading up to that. She won the Razzie in 2018 for 50 Shades Darker. Fuck the Razzies.
Oh, fuck the 50 Shades series.
Also,
saying
she won the Golden Globe that year. She also won the Screen Actors Guild. And the cast of this film was nominated for Best Performance by a Cast in a Movie, but did not win that year, the Screen Actors Guild Award. That year, it was won by, again, Googling things in real time. Love this for us.
What is it? What is it?
You know what? I kind of love that this movie is what won in. Oh, no, that's the year after. Damn it.
Am I going to be mad? What is it?
No, I was looking at the wrong year. I was looking at the year before, which was The Birdcage is what won the year before.
I would have been mad.
The Full Monty is what won, which I've not actually seen, so I cannot speak to how good that cast is.
Really wish that people could see my face right now.
I wish they could too.
Did they watch LA Confidential?
I mean, they must have.
Like how?
I mean, you want to say fuck the Razzies? I feel like you could fuck the Oscars just as bad. Like, just they're just as shitty. Just do away with all award shows.
It's true.
But
Brett,
I mean,
you grounded us once again.
the big precursor to the Oscars is usually the SAG, and she won the SAG, so that usually is, generally speaking, with a few exceptions, the person that wins the SAG has the Oscar on lock. Jamie Lee Curtis this year is a great example. Should Jamie Lee Curtis have probably won Best Supporting Actress this year? Probably not, but she did, and I'm glad she did. But she was very surprised, and I think a lot of other people were as well.
Brett, you're gonna have to remove at least one of those cats because having them both on the screen at the same time is like a cuteness overload, and I'm just about to pass out.
I think Tucker just short circuited. I think he just
I did a little bit because I saw this one up here, and I was like, oh, they're taking turns on the back of the chair. Then Homeboy popped up over here, and I was like, oh no, too much kidding.
They love you too.
But I mean, yeah, Kim Basinger up to this point, was probably best known as a model. She 1989 Batman, of course, probably being, the big one, but 9.5 Weeks in 86. I guess I shouldn't say best known as a model because she actually had quite a bit of a career up to this point.
But I think that she had been giving the kind of performances, and Batman included, that you would expect from a supermodel. No disrespect to supermodels, but most of them, it's a thing where usually when you see a supermodel in a movie, they're not very good at acting. Mm-hmm. It's just a thing that happens. It's a stereotype. Maybe it's bad. I don't know. But up to that point, she had been giving the kind of, they were fine. They're okay, for a supermodel. But then she comes and blows it out of the water in this movie, and people are like, this is so impressive. The fact that this woman is a supermodel and she gave this performance, that we are going to give her this Oscar over all of these other performances.
And also, weirdly,
kind of like a most improved award, They should give those out at the Oscars. Most improved.
Weirdly, the role for women that wins, that is most nominated for an Oscar is Call Girl, interestingly. So it's almost like, oh my God, how can someone play a person like this? And so women tend to get nominated when they play Call Girls. It's also like men tend to get nominated when they play developmentally disabled, which is fucking weird.
Gross. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. But like, Sean Penn, Dustin Hoffman, like it happens. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know it. Yeah. They get the nominations. That's the issue.
Yeah.
How are we entering again? Fuck the Oscars. Fuck award shows.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Once Why do we need them? We don't need them. We don't need them anymore.
I mean, Hollywood.
It's a fun bit of pageantry,
I think so. The fun thing I learned about the Oscars this year is that they were actually used as a way to try to like break down the unions forming in Hollywood, for a way for the studios to kind of like tear down the unions.
Really fucking hate that.
We can give them like some puffed up award show thing, and that'll like keep them from like fighting for, fair wages and rights and things.
That's the Hollywood equivalent of an office pizza party. Right?
Exactly. Yep. The Oscars are essentially, the Oscars are essentially the Hollywood equivalent of a pizza party.
Oh, it's okay that we're paying you shitty wages and not giving you residuals, but look, you guys, we got pizza.
Right. So we support the writer's strike. And if there is an impending actor's strike, we support that too.
And unions in general, you guys. Right. Workers' rights.
Absolutely.
I'll drink to that.
If I had more beverage, I would drink to that also.
I'll have 2 drinks for you. One for you, Steven.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
But yeah, I mean, look, this is kind of, I think, one of those movies. Like, what do you say about a movie this good? Like,
go watch it if you haven't seen it.
Really? Like, figure out what we're talking about. Again,
I think this is a movie that even though it's a very unique film, I feel like it's also very, very accessible. I feel like Agreed. You could show pretty much anybody this movie. It's not like a 9-year-old child. Mm-hmm. And they would at least walk away from it saying, yeah, that was really fucking good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
hard to say any bad thing about it.
It's very well made
at all,
and it's like, yeah, it's incredibly well made. It's well acted, well directed. Again, I would say the filmmaking is not as dynamic as I would like for it to be, but like there's some split diopter shots that just kind of floored me in this movie. Like there are elements where it really kind of comes together and turns into something really special. But by and large, I thought the filmmaking was mostly pretty stock standard. Nothing
Well,
too
and that
special.
was what I had read about actually a couple days ago. I was looking at some stuff, and I read that that was intentional because they were trying to let the tone and the performances
Mm,
do all the heavy lifting. They didn't want people to be too focused on the period piece-iness of it. You know what I
right.
mean?
I read that too. Like they said, we want to put these period touches in there, but put them all in the background.
And
Don't
they
front
wanted to
load them.
be
Don't. Yeah.
very straightforward in the way that they shot it in a very modern, like I said, straightforward kind of way. They wanted it to look good, but they didn't want it to look so good that it was distracting to like the tone and the performance of the film. The
Right.
performances of the film is what I'm
Yeah,
trying to say.
you don't always need cinema. Sometimes it's just a good movie.
Well,
Yep.
and I mean, yeah, I think some of that, like if you just shot the whole thing in black and white with like the very stark noir lighting, that would have probably been too much, right? But like
Yeah.
just, but again, it feels like it's got a lot in common, but maybe a little less interesting than maybe Brian De Palma's The Untouchables from a few years before. Like, just
Yeah.
it feels very much a piece of like that,
Color grading is very similar.
right?
They look very similar. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I love The Untouchables, by the way. Love that
Oh
movie.
yeah, same. Great movie. Despite Kevin Costner as the lead, as you guys know, I'm not a fan of Kevin Costner, but no,
Yes,
great
yes.
movie. And it's real good. I love The Untouchables.
I think what is that, Brett? Do you have your Xbox 360 and or PS3 on over there in the corner? What's that all about?
Oh, I might. This little thing? Oh, yes.
Yeah, what's that? What's that all about?
Well, it's funny you say that, Tucker. Because there was a little game that came out in 2011 that might as well be LA Confidential, the video game, called LA Noir, um, where you also play as a altruistic beat cop who gets promoted to detective and works his way up through the force and exposes a deep drug conspiracy in the process.
Yeah,
So,
it's too bad they couldn't have got the rights and had some of these actors come in and do the voices. Not
That
to
would have
say
been
that
cool.
Rockstar didn't cast wonderful people to do the job. It's just
no,
it would have been cool to have that connection.
yeah, no, I mean it's really well acted, well animated, because it was one of the first games to use that like full 3D face modeling and whatnot. Um, because a big part of the game is finding evidence and interviewing suspects, and you have to figure out based on your notes um, and their facial expressions if
Yeah,
you're
how they act and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, how they act and stuff, if you believe what they're saying or not. So that's where it became a meme after a while. Is press X to doubt is kind of where that came from.
Which I've
Um,
seen that meme. I just had no idea what it was from.
It's
yeah,
such a unique game. It kind of like started and ended an entire genre with one game. There's never been a sequel. There have never been any games like it. I
no,
mean, I'm sure some games have taken little bits of inspiration here and there, but there's never been anything where you're like, oh yeah, that's like LA Noir.
Is that available on PC? Because I would actually probably be interested in playing that.
It's
I
probably
think
on
so.
Steam, right?
Yeah, I'm
Let's
pretty
look
sure
that
it
up
is.
in
Yeah.
real time. I mean,
Yes.
they've done a lot of re-releases and remasters, so one of those has probably found its way on Steam for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
right on.
It is. It is currently available for Windows. So yes.
Oh, right on.
That
Hell
would-
yeah.
Yeah.
So that might be something I have to look into. I'm not a big game guy, but that feels very much up my alley, honestly. Because I
Well, I mean,
love.
there is. I will warn you. There is also like the in between interviews and clue collecting.
Mhm.
It's GTA style video game play.
So
It's
like
like
open world kind of.
open world. Yeah, you're driving. You yourself are driving from place to place. There's also shootouts when you confront a suspect or somebody that's running away. So there's shootouts with various weaponry. You can shoot people's hats off. It's great.
Right on.
So
Very cool.
I mean,
Yeah.
it does sound kind of fun. I would have to probably get used to the gameplay on that, but yeah, the hand-eye coordination not great, but yeah, right on.
Yeah, no. So yeah, that is really good. I believe there's a like Ultimate Edition that they released eventually that has all the DLC.
Yeah, it's been re-released and remastered so many times. There's definitely a version that is compatible with the current generation of consoles and probably souped up pretty well for PC as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And what's cool is like the DLC was like 5 separate missions from the main storyline that are all based on like movies from the 40s.
Oh, nice.
So
Nice.
yeah, there's like what is it? The Naked City. One is the Black Dahlia, Reefer Madness. So yeah, it's very cool. Check it out.
I've never played the DLC. I might actually. I hadn't thought about this game in years. Honestly, I rented it when it initially came out, and my roommate worked at the video store, so I got to keep it a little longer, and I finished it, and then I haven't played it since then. So probably like 2 months after it came out was the last time that I played it. I really want to play that DLC now, though. I haven't really thought about it. I'm pumped.
Check
I
it out.
might just once again buy a game while we're recording a podcast.
I'm very good at making you buy games.
I still haven't played Killer Frequency yet, but that's only because I haven't had a lot of time to play games, and I'm really trying to get through Sonic Frontiers, which I have cleared the first world of Sonic Frontiers, and it was very satisfying.
Nice. Very nice.
As to why we're covering this movie on this podcast, in addition to being part of a quadrilogy, the original novel was so there was a sequel to the original novel, which they could have expounded on. Actually, there was a film made of the first book in the LA Quartet. Brian De Palma's, not to reinvoke Brian De Palma, but Brian De Palma's The Black Dahlia.
Black Dahlia, yeah.
But it had nothing to do with Josh Hartnett. But it had nothing to do with this movie. Like none of the characters, none of the actors returned to play those roles, anything. But what we do have is it was confirmed in October of 2020. It looks like that Brian Helgeland, the Academy Award winning screenwriter for this film, did confirm that there had been a sequel in development prior to the death of Chadwick Boseman, which would have featured Boseman as an LA cop in the same world in the 70s, I think. And then Russell Crowe and Guy Pearce would have both come back and played Bud White and Edmund Exley, respectively. But with the death of Chadwick Boseman, that one kind of fell by the wayside. So there was certainly there were opportunities that presented themselves where that could have been a sequel, but it didn't end up happening. And so we're discussing it here on this podcast, which is what we do. If they ever come around and decide to make it again with maybe another actor in the lead, we'll cover it because we covered this one. So I think Tucker might be against that, though.
Well, yeah, that's the segment that we haven't named that we haven't done for a long time, and we forgot to name it, but we're doing it now, so shut the hell up.
But then we also forgot to do it for a couple months after we remembered it the first time, so we're back to doing it again, so also shut up.
There you go.
Really, bottom line, just shut up.
Shut up.
Just kidding. We love you.
We do.
But anyway, yeah, Tucker, does this deserve a sequel? Would you want to see a sequel?
It doesn't need one. But I would watch one, and if the creative team was consistent with the first film, I would want it to be an all or nothing kind of thing. I would want everybody, the entire cast, to come back, and I would want the entire behind the scenes crew, stuff like writer, director, music, stuff like
cast?
that. Well, I mean, if this were going to get a sequel, it would have been before we found out Kevin Spacey was a creep. So yes, the entire cast. Even though Kevin Spacey died in this one, so I don't think he's not coming back anyway, ding dong.
No worries.
He comes back, he's like, I'm a ghost, a 1950s cop ghost.
Ghost.
We're ghosts.
I think I agree. I don't think it needs a sequel. but I would probably watch one if they made one. Even now, I would
Especially
probably
if it
watch one if
was,
they made one.
especially if it were, you know, the same creative team and players.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, obviously,
sure.
Curtis Hanson wouldn't be available, but you know, you can get
Well, no.
no. But if you can get back Russell Crowe, and again, Russell Crowe seems like he would be on board to return
Oh yeah.
to this world and this character, and I would like to think that Guy Pearce would as well. Honestly,
Yeah, probably. I can't imagine he wouldn't.
yeah. LA Confidential opens on September 19th, 1997, just in time for Oscar season. It opens number 4 that week. It opens to $5.2 million on just a little shy of 800 screens. So they're platforming it, so it'll open wider over the next few weeks and make more money back. It does ultimately make, on a $35 million production budget, goes on to make $34.6 million domestic, another 64.6, another 61.6 international, for a
Not bad.
worldwide box of $126 million, which pretty good. That's a hit.
Not bad. Yeah.
It again opens 4th the weekend that it comes out. In first place, a movie that is also Oscar nominated in the same category that Kim Basinger was, In and Out. The number 1 movie in America, its first week. So, you know, I'd love to see that a movie about whether or not Kevin Kline is gay is the number 1 movie in America. I think that's great. Love to
I just remember the poster.
Mm-hmm.
Just all white, and he's just all like,
He's dancing. You know who directed In and Out?
"You did?
No. Do you know who did?
No, who did?"
Tim Burton.
Frank Oz.
Oh, now I have to see it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Fozzie
Brett,
Bear,
if
Miss
I laughed
Piggy.
really loud and it hurt your ears. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I got really excited.
You
That
did
was
that,
really
yeah.
close to the microphone.
In second place, a movie that Tucker and I talked about fairly recently, a little film by a little director named David Fincher called The Game.
He's so little. David Fincher is famously short. You said a little director. You said that.
Much like
Well-
Danny DeVito. I knew Danny DeVito was short, but like in the first few scenes where
Oh
he's
my
standing
God.
next to everybody in the crowd, that man is
He's
tiny
like
as
at,
fuck.
He's like at their waist. Like
They have to have Kevin Spacey sit down so they can have like a face-to-face
Yeah.
conversation.
Right. Yeah.
he is probably like what 4'9".
I think he's definitely under 5 feet for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
like I said, I know he was short, but I was still taken aback.
What a
Uh,
legend.
But yeah, The Game. David Fincher's The Game in second place.
Oh, I love that movie too.
I know you do. In third place, a little movie called Wes Craven's Wishmaster. A movie that Wes Craven did not direct, but his name is in the title. Good for him.
That movie was fun.
As we said, LA Confidential in 4th. And in 5th place, another Academy Award nominated film. It won the SAG for Best Ensemble that year. It's The Full Monty, which is also, that one's been out for about 6 weeks and is holding steady right around 5. Very small release window on that. It just actually platformed up, added another close to 300 theaters, and is still holding steady at 5th. So rounding out the top 10, you've got 1,000 Acres. What if there were 1,000 acres? A little movie called G.I. Jane, where Demi Moore shaved her head. In 8th place, Money Talks, the Charlie Sheen,
Chris Tucker and Charlie Sheen. I love that movie. It's no Nothing to Lose, even though it's one of those situations where two very similar premises, black guy, white guy, buddy comedies came out around the same time. Mm-hmm. Nothing to Lose is the superior film, but Money Talks is really funny. Really, really funny. Nice. Nothing to Lose, of course, with Tim Robbins and Martin Lawrence.
Right, of course. And then we've also got in 9th place, Air Force One, Get Off My Plane.
Ooh, I like that movie too.
Yeah, it's good. And in 10th place, Fire Down Below. So
I don't know what the fuck that is.
Nope, me neither. And I don't care enough to find out. The tomatometer score on LA Confidential is a 99% certified.
You're damn right it is.
Critics' consensus: taut pacing, brilliantly dense writing, and Oscar-worthy acting combined to produce a smart, popcorn-friendly thrill ride. Hell yes. The Metascore
Perfect
is
for
a
everyone.
91. It is a Metacritic must-see as well.
Damn
Universal
right it
acclaim
is.
based on 28 critic reviews. And the Letterboxd score is a 4.1. Tucker, I don't think we need to ask, but we're going to. Out of 5 stars, how do you rate LA Confidential?
How many stars above 5 do I get? Like, do I have bonus stars?
No. We'll cap it at
Well,
5 for
then-
the average anyway.
5+. It's like an A+. It's a 5+.
Brett, what about yourself?
4.5.
That's what I gave it as well.
Respectable.
4.5 for me as
Respectable.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good movie. Like, hard to argue with this one. It's just real good, and probably one of the best ones we've covered for this podcast so far. Honestly, like, it's just real good.
I mean, outside of Pootie Tang, yeah, I agree with you. Well,
Right.
I mean, that goes without
outside
saying. I
of
mean,
Pootie Tang.
Pootie Tang. Yeah. Did you eat something? What was that?
for some, Tucker, you might appreciate this. For some weird reason, I don't know why, I get random songs stuck in my head sometimes when I haven't heard them in forever. I mean, I will randomly get shit stuck in my head that I haven't listened to or actually, heard in years. For some reason, in the shower earlier, I
Yeah?
had was it Dirty D's song stuck in my head.
Make them say, na 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 na. Wait, that one or the actual Dirty D song?
Yeah,
Ah, yes.
his theme song, as it were.
Low down and dirty, boy, you know what I'm
Yes.
about.
I had that stuck in my
Stay
head for
out my
God knows
way
why.
and keep
I
my
don't
name
know
out
why.
your mouth.
I call those songs
Yeah, dude.
forgettables because you forget they exist until either you hear them or they pop in your head apropos of nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're just songs that exist and but you don't remember they exist until they just pop back in your head like that.
You
So,
know, we didn't talk about it, and we probably have no right to talk about it on something as insanely good as LA Confidential's episode, but the soundtrack to Pootie Tang has got some bangers on it. Southern Girl by Erica Badu do 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 do, featuring Rozelle from The Roots. I still have that song steady on my main playlist. Bunch of bangers on that soundtrack.
there you go. You heard it here on our
Poison,
LA Confidential
I Wanna Be Your
episode.
Man. Come on, you guys. Yes, LA Confidential.
Go check out the Pootie
Go check
Tang
out the
episode.
Pootie Tang soundtrack.
Buy the
Available.
Pootie Tang soundtrack. Also, watch LA Confidential. Not at the same time.
But
Unless you
maybe
have
do
to.
that.
Cruel.
Maybe it's like a Pink Floyd
Oh, it's like-
situation.
I was
and
gonna
they
say,
sync
maybe
up.
it's the dark side of the moon. Yeah.
They sync up.
Let's do it, you guys. Let's do it.
Let's make it a Patreon thing. Let's do it.
It's
Let's do
movie
it for the
science
Patreon.
time, you guys. Movie science.
So yeah, absolutely. I love this for us.
I'll write that theme with the theremin.
Oh God.
It'll be good times. I
This
have one.
has
I just have to
been
fix it.
the LA Confidential episode of the Disenfranchised Podcast. You can find us on all of the social medias at DisenfranchPod. I don't know how much longer Twitter is going to be a thing, so I don't know how much longer we're going to be on it. But for right now, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Facebook is where you can find us, and YouTube as well, lest we forget. Go listen to our Chipmunk Adventure episode on YouTube, please. Or don't. I don't care. But maybe you should.
Oh no, definitely listen to it. It's really good. Our
No, I
pals
mean-
from High on the Cartoons.
Definitely listen to that episode, regardless of where. But if you could listen to it on YouTube, go for it. No, but definitely do listen to that episode. It fucking slaps.
It's a good episode. Neither Brett nor I were there for completely different reasons, but it is a solid episode.
No, it was the same reason. You were taking a race around the world to leave misbegotten disenfranchised merchandise all over the globe.
Oh yeah, that. I forgot that we had
Mhm.
done that.
Yep, that's a thing you guys both did. At least that's where I said you were on that episode.
It was
so
yeah.
go
with
successful.
Wow, we had such a good time
Yeah, adventure.
doing that with each other.
You
Or
should
separately?
definitely.
I'm not sure what the implication is.
I don't know.
Did we
Race
go
around-
together or did we like split up and go separate ways so we could
You're the
cover more
ones that
ground?
did it. You
How
would
did this
know.
work?
What's the lore here, Steven?
Yeah, Steven,
You
give us
guys, you know
lore.
what? You guys figure it out.
Okay.
I am tired.
Tired of being desired.
Okay. What's that like? I don't know.
I don't know. Ask young Frankenstein.
I do. While we're on the subject, I do want to talk about our 2 new patrons. We got some new patrons this in the past couple of weeks.
Dos Patrons.
Dos Patrones. We have it looks like 2 new patrons. It is Norvin Klein, welcome, and past and future guest friend of the show, Mandy Gossage, is also a patron. So
hell yeah,
welcome.
You know what I think it is. I think that they did the trial and then forgot to cancel it. That's what
I don't care.
Right?
I'm happy that I'm
Now,
happy
here's the
they're
thing.
here.
I regularly talk to Norvin on Instagram, and he did say he was going to join the Patreon. So
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Welcome on in, sir.
Send us
Norvin,
send us letters.
Mandy,
we want to read your letters.
Yeah. So join our Patreon, patreon.com/disandfrenchpod. I think I'm just going to leave the free trial up for a little bit and see if anyone else wants to plug in on that.
Steven.
Absolutely.
Can't wait till you do.
So get that free taste of disenfranchised goodness behind that paywall. And then shoot us an email. Let us know what you think of what we're doing. If there's anything you want to see us cover, disenfranchpod@gmail.com. Or if you just want to say hi and introduce yourself, you can do that as well. But hit us up there also.
And I said before that I thought that it was just they forgot to cancel it. But honestly, you guys, 7 days for a trial. There's so much content on that Patreon. So much.
Couldn't get through it.
Weeks worth.
No.
Absolutely. You could probably never stop listening to it over the course of a week and still not get through all of it. So
we're encouraging you to do this, but here's the warning. You might find that you just haven't got through enough of it, and now you have to pay us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sorry for that.
But
also give us money.
Yeah, give us your money, please. Buy my book. I actually do have a short story that you could buy on Amazon, but that was not.
I want to buy your short story. What is it? I want to buy it. What is it?
It's called Henry Jacobs and the Three Nasty Nose Pickers.
What?
Yeah.
What's this?
It's a short story. It's if you put my name into Amazon, you will find it. It is there. If you type Stephen Foxworthy into Instagram, or into Amazon, you will find it.
Self-publishing at its finest.
Yep. Thanks to a friend of the show and patron JP Leck for the advice on publishing that. That was years ago. I published that like 2 or 3 years ago.
I found it.
There you go.
It's free.
Is it free? Would you have Kindle Unlimited?
If you have Kindle Unlimited, yes.
Yeah, if you have Kindle Unlimited, it is free. Otherwise, it is 99 cents.
I would like a hard cover with a dust jacket, if that's possible, signed by the author.
I would also love that, but I have a feeling that's not going to happen. Unless I maybe
am able to write 4.5. Look, you got 4.5 stars, 6 ratings. Most of them are 5 stars.
Most of them are probably from me and my friends.
Well, I can't wait to read this, Steven.
Well, I hope you enjoy it.
I can't believe you never told me about this before.
I mean, I had posted about it on social media a lot once I first put it out, but you're not a big social media guy, so I can see.
I don't give a fuck about that shit.
You could also find our podcast on Amazon. Apparently, when you type in my name, you get our podcast also. So
only up to a certain amount of episodes. There's a couple platforms that like we used to be on for like the first 5 episodes, and then we just haven't been on.
Oh, that's weird.
But it's like weird ones that nobody uses, like Amazon. Who gets their podcast from Amazon?
Yeah, I don't know.
5 people.
Right. Yeah.
5 people.
Very true.
It's like I keep getting those emails. It's like, oh, you've got Prime. You don't use your Prime Music. I'm like, yeah, because it fucking sucks. Mm-hmm. Nobody uses Prime Music. Get out of my face with that shit.
Yeah. Spotify for life, bitch.
YouTube Music with the free premium. I've never seen an ad on YouTube. Good night.
Nice. Lucky you, man. I've seen far too many.
You're one of the suckers about YouTube Premium.
Yeah, there you go.
Am I a sucker though? Because look at this. I get your standard, all the songs that you have on Spotify, plus all the songs that are not on Spotify that are on YouTube proper. I can listen to in YouTube Music as a song, not a video. Plus, it comes with premium, which means that I can support some of my favorite creators without spending any more money than I am on the subscription. Because I'm grandfathered in, because I started with YouTube Music a long time ago, I pay $10 a month for all of this. I've never seen an ad on YouTube. My favorite creators get money every month, extra money, because I select them to be like my people to get money. And, the music streaming. I'm just saying, fuck music streaming, first of all. But YouTube music is the shit. That's all I'm saying. Also, fuck YouTube. And fuck Google. And fuck all those motherfuckers. But also, YouTube music, yeah.
This episode could easily be subtitled Tucker Fucks the World.
Yeah, fuck everybody, but also... It all started with Kevin Spacey, man.
And speaking of places where you can find this podcast, make sure that you leave us a nice 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, to let everyone know, A, that you love us, and B, that they should be listening to us also, because they should. They should. The quality of this episode notwithstanding. No, I'm just kidding. This has been a great episode.
I'll bet it's going to be. I can't wait to edit it because I had a lot of fun making it and I want to listen to it again. Which, coincidentally, I'm going to do as soon as we're done recording because I have no other time to do it before Thursday.
Here in mere moments, yeah.
Yes.
So there's that. That's you can find us. You can find me, your host, Stephen Foxworthy. Hi, that's me on Instagram, Letterboxd, and Twitter at Chewy Walrus. Brett, where can we find you on socials these days?
You can find me on Instagram at Letterboxd, rating and reviewing lots of weird horror movies. It's sus_warlock.
Right on. Tucker, what about yourself, sir?
I'm on the YouTubes at the usual spot at Ice909, ICENINE, the number 0, and the number 9. I'm also on the Insta Scams with my mugs.
Mm-hmm.
Things have been a little slow of late with the mugs, but only because it's been really hot. It's been really hot out here, and I don't drink hot drinks when it's hot outside.
It's hot out here for a pimp.
Yeah. Drink some cold brew out of a mug.
Look, I do it every day.
Let me tell you what I told my coworker the other day. When I make hot coffee and it gets cold, I throw it away.
Nope.
Why would I
want for
coffee to start cold?
It's not the same.
I either throw it away or I put it in a pan and put it on my stove and reheat it.
Because
that's what they did in Fargo season 2.
Cold brew is not the same as cold coffee. It is not the same.
You. But I'll bet it tastes enough like cold coffee that I'll be like, nah.
It does not, but that's fine.
And right. Tucker's Instagram handle is...
I will also never eat an avocado. I haven't for 40 years and I never will. It's Tuck_mugs.
Tuck_mugs.
Hey, I wanted to real quick. I did find out a way to make videos longer than 10 minutes on my editing program. So when I have some time, I'm really going to try and do some more of the preservation stuff. I had put that on hold for quite a while. I would just like to announce to the world that I am getting the ball rolling on returning to that very soon within the next couple months.
Hell yeah. Right on. I'm actually very glad to hear that.
Girl, me too.
Girl, me too. And that is all we've got for 1997's LA Confidential. What a great movie. Seriously. Yeah. So for the Disenfranchised Podcast, I'm your host, Stephen Foxworthy, for my co-hosts, Brett Wright and Tucker. Until next time, just the facts. Bum, ba-dum, bum.
There you go.
Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. You guys, we're going to have to cover the Dan Aykroyd, Tom Hanks Dragnet one day. I just want to make you guys aware of that.
Can't wait.
I'm way into it. I've actually seen it and I kind of like it, or at least awesome. I remember liking it.
Cool.